Hi, Kathy Lowry Gallowitz here with Vanguard Veteran. I'm a retired career Air Force veteran. My business, Vanguard Veteran, equips civilians to become veteran champion. So thank you for being here. In particular, as a faith community leader, thank you for wanting to learn about what your role is and how you can make a difference. So the question is, are you a veteran champion? And what is your faith community doing to make a difference in the lives of service members, veterans, and their families? A veteran champion is, in essence, a civilian who creates mutually beneficial activities, services, and resources to improve quality of life, workforce, and community. No action is too small, and the faith community is particularly well suited to impact on all three areas: quality of life, workforce, and community. You truly can make a big difference. So I invite you to create those mutually beneficial win-win opportunities and be a part of the win. Why is this important? Well, every year about 200,000 service members separate from military service. There are about 2.6 million Iraq and Afghanistan veterans all around us. About half of them need support. Research shows that 55% feel disconnected from civilian life post-military service, and that finding jobs, social functioning, and community involvement can be challenging. But where you particularly come in is that 40% of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans feel disconnected and have a hard time finding meaning, purpose, or getting in touch with spirituality. That last bullet below is really where you can make a difference just by creating a safe connection hub and providing practical support. Because, when we leave the military, no one trains us to come home. We spend about a year training someone to join the military, but there's no official training that trains us how to reintegrate and transform our lives, because when we wear the uniform, we have an identity, a sense of purpose, and a mission focus. When we take that uniform off, really oftentimes it's a struggle to figure out who you are now. So Iraq and Afghanistan veterans need your support, but so do veterans from previous conflicts. Many struggle with unresolved issues. But despite all those unresolved issues that some may have, I want to caution you, do not believe that everybody has PTSD. And I want you to know that many who have experienced combat or military service, or maybe any other traumas, that post-traumatic growth is something that we are learning about and that's very real. I live with a combat veteran who I believe has experienced and is having post-traumatic growth. Resiliency is highly common for service members, veterans, and their families. So please expect that, understand that, and don't believe that everybody is broken, because that's just not the case. And yet, PTSD is something that some veterans can experience. About 20% of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans have it, according to the Department of Veterans Affairs. That means 80% do not. Remember that. And also remember that even if you have PTSD, that most people learn to manage their triggers and live long, full lives. MST is military sexual trauma. About 16% men and women experience that. 16 to 40% have misused alcohol. And research shows that veterans are more likely than civilians to use alcohol, but many people use it to mask their feelings. 14 to 22% are depressed, but as we know, depression and mental health challenges are very prevalent all around us in society. Traumatic brain injury is the signature injury of this current conflict. About 10 to 20% of people have that, but most recover to pre-injury functioning in a reasonable period of time, but some may have some ongoing emotional distress. Please know that TBI, or traumatic brain injury, is very difficult to diagnose. Intimate partner violence or domestic violence is 3 times greater among veterans than in the civilian population. And I know you've heard about suicide, right? Used to be 22 per day, but the most recent data I've heard from the Department of Veterans Affairs is that it's now down to 17 per day. You getting involved, creating a military ministry and supporting, offering practical support will help, I believe, curb suicide, because your primary function is going to be to decrease social isolation. Creating military ministries is not about becoming a counselor or a therapist. It's about creating a place of connection. Also remember that most healthcare providers, 56% of healthcare providers, don't ask about military service, and that caregiver burnout is real. Caregivers are all around you. I think you'd be surprised of the number of caregivers that are supporting visible and invisible injuries of war. That 6 out of 10 of caregivers report that their health has worsened because of caregiving. There are so many places where you can make a difference by building a military ministry. Why is the faith community particularly well suited? Well, because you're hospitable. You foster sense of belongings and hospitality just naturally, right? There's some spiritual concerns that some veterans may have that maybe a clergy member is best suited to support. But sometimes there's unmourned loss or shame that service members may carry with them because of what they did or they thought they could have done and they were helpless. And so there's some struggles that many face. And again, most of us don't know how to handle that really easily. So, encourage your clergy members to get involved at that point. Faith communities are really good at supporting veterans because your membership cuts across the lifespan. You're going to get the younger people who've served 4 to 6 years, so they may be in their 20s, and or the World War II veterans who are older and have different concerns. And so, there's just a lot of ways and places to connect. Clergy, reverend, ministers, priests, rabbis certainly influence public opinion, and they can offer confidential care. A military ministry is really a grassroots way, a practical way to offer connection and spiritual support. We encourage people to bond together, to get to know each other, because no one has all the experiences and nobody can, offer all the connecting points that so often fosters support. But through this ministry, we want you to really understand the veteran community resources near you and when to refer, because we don't expect a volunteer military ministry leader to be a counselor or a therapist. You are a volunteer and a facilitator. What kind of things could you do? You could offer prayer to people. You can support the families who are deployed, either the deployed member or the ones left at home. You can celebrate sending off to deployment, sending off to military service, or welcoming home for any of those things. Offering a really great military funeral is a real tribute to a veteran, and your congregation could be involved in that. But be creative about activities that cultivate a caring ear and practical support. Mowing the lawn, taking a meal over, carpooling, inviting somebody to a book club. There's just so many ways you can offer grassroots practical support that foster connections and decrease social isolation. Another emphasis is to know your veteran community resources, be it the VA, the National Guard, or nonprofits that can support you. A Fallen Comrades ceremony is a very special ceremony that offers a safe sanctuary for veterans and their families to support their emotional healing, and our citizens are invited to come share in the burdens and sacrifices that so many of them shoulder. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please let me know. So if you don't have a military ministry ongoing right now, please go back to your faith community leaders and find out, what are we doing in a purposeful way to support military families? How can we find them? How can we connect with them? And fundamentally, what can we do just to make their life easier? Again, this isn't rocket science. A few resources I'd like you to be aware of. In chapter 5 of my just released book, Beyond Thank You for Your Service, you can read about faith community leaders who are building military ministries. Great ideas provided there for you. The book in the middle is for those who are transitioning, would offer you great insight. It's also a great book to give to someone who is going through the transition. These can both be found on Amazon, and should you want to reach me, my email address is kathy@vanguardveteran.com. I would love to hear from you and support you and offer some consulting services. I have resource directories available for sale on my website. There are some pre-recorded trainings available. I'm also available to come in person, and I would love, love, love to help your community host a fallen comrade ceremony, and really appreciate other opportunities to speak to congregations and or denominational leaders and ministerial associations. So really dig deep, think through, what more can you do now to become a faith community veteran champion? Because you know, when you're a veteran champion and you're out there making it work, you can do so much more. Because for veteran champions, every day is Veterans Day. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about how you can be a part of the win. And if you have questions, please reach out. Kathy Lowry Gallowitz, Vanguard Veteran, signing out. Thank you.